Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 500 Miles podcast with your host, Adam Relkin, right here. So, this weekend, the first playoff race came to an end at Darlington this week, which ended up going to Chase Briscoe with the win. And Briscoe ended up leading 309 out of 367 laps, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But still ended up being a decent race, in my opinion, though. I do wish it was easier to pass because, I will admit that passing was a bit difficult this race for sure. And, yeah, we'll get into that. So, Briscoe, though, he goes back to back with the Southern 500 as well. Because last year, he ended up getting the win, walking it off, and making the playoffs when this was the regular season finale. But this time, he walks it off in a way into the round of 12. So, a really great performance as well for the Toyotas. Like the Toyotas, they were 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6 and 7 as well, meaning that six Toyotas had the top 7 finishers in this race as well, which very impressive. I am definitely gonna say that. So, amongst some things in the race to talk about, obviously it was Briscoe dominating. Was a little disappointed by how hard it was to pass, but as I said, this wasn't a bad race. Like, Southern 500 does usually will not disappoint anyway, because battle in the last 5 to 10 laps, I thought it got pretty good between Briscoe and Reddick. Like, so there's that at least to say. But but yeah, I mean, Reddick, he was trying his hardest to get Briscoe, just couldn't quite get around him. But at the same time, I'm not going to say there was no passing because, like, Briscoe, whenever he lost the lead, he would then have to fight for it back and would get it back. So that's why I can't really say there wasn't no passing because, I mean, there was passing after 5 to 10 laps. There was. So, yeah, I mean, just wanted to kind of mention that as well. So, some really big surprises as well throughout the field. And Briscoe, I mean, if he almost had a chance to sweep all the crown jewels in pole position as well. I mean, he won the Daytona 500 pole, he won the Brickyard 400 pole. What else did he win? Well, trying to think of the other crown jewel. He won the Coke 600 pole, and he came so close to winning the Southern 500 pole. Teammate Denny Hamlin got it. But right from the get-go, I mean, Briscoe, though, just took off in an instant. He just took off, right? And Denny Hamlin lost the lead on the start. And then we get a big pile-up already, including guys like Josh Berry, who qualified, I think, third. He spins out under Tyler Reddick. Reddick gets damage and causes a pile-up. Guys like Kyle Busch got involved. Like, like it ended up, being a nope. But yeah, Barry ended up though coming back out on track like over 100 laps later. He managed to get fastest lap though, which does help a little bit, but he's in some serious playoff trouble regardless of that. And then as we go through some of the other things that happened, I mean, Briscoe, I mean, he sweeped all the stages as well. It was really interesting, though, seeing Shane Van Gisbergen try and fight to get back on the lead lap, which he did. That was a pretty fun moment to see him go up there and try to get around guys like Riley Herbst, I think, and battle them. I think another one may have been Custer. I could be wrong, but he was fighting to get back in this race and to stay on the lead lap because Shane Van Gisbergen needs to run great in these 3 races if he wants to stay in the playoffs, which he's currently, like, that buffer he had is pretty much gone now because he had like a 16, 17 point buffer above the cut line. Now it's down to only 3 points. So, and SVG has never gone to Gateway, so SVG got to pick things up for sure, and he's not going to Bristol either, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the finishing results here, though, still. It ended up obviously being Chase Briscoe to win. Tyler Reddick got second, 23-11. We'll definitely talk about them a little bit more later. Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek, third and fourth. Incredible runs for both of them. There's even a stat that showed that Eric Jones would have won the race based off of speed throughout the whole race, which that's absolutely incredible as well when you think about it, because, like, I mean, I know Eric Jones has won the Southern 500 twice, but imagine if he could have won it a third time driving for Legacy Motor Club. Like, Legacy Motor Club, they have improved so much this year. I know I talk about it almost every episode, but it's night and day compared to last year, how Legacy did last year in their first year with Toyota to how they're doing this year, because both he and John Hunter Nemechek have been putting on incredible runs every week. Like, almost every week, whenever something doesn't go wrong. I mean, John Hunter Nemechek, he had such a great run as well. You got to give both of the Legacy cars a lot of credit. Fifth, top five, like Allmendinger, he still got it at 43. 43 years old. And he still got it. So, like, that's just really impressive. Like, really impressive stuff out of AJ Allmendinger. And then, I mean, I mentioned Bubba Wallace. He was able to work his way back up to sixth. Like, Denny Hamlin in seventh. So, like, Denny Hamlin, he was having some issues as well. Like, there was that pit stop that took 45 seconds, like, earlier, I think, which that didn't help at all. I would imagine. So, I mean, that definitely did not help, but took him a while to get his groove back going. He then had to fight to get back up through the field, which he did. Man, I know they got that new deal with Cheddar's to do the whole free queso and chips, I think, for Cheddar's. Well, he did it. He got a top 8, so I believe yesterday you had a chance to order free chips and queso, I guess, from Cheddar's. Then, as I mentioned, Carson Hocevar again, as Lee Diffie called him, the Hurricane Hocevar. He was causing some issues out there. I mean, I know he spun out, but I think either earlier or later on after that, he was still getting into people on track. Like, I remember he got into Chase Elliott, might have gotten into Byron, I think, as well. So, like, he's gonna race. He races everyone aggressively, and I don't think Hocevar's gonna care. Like, I really don't think that Carson Hocevar is gonna care at this point. But yeah. I just don't think he's going to care, which, I mean, it's definitely an attitude that he's been keeping around with him. But yeah, Chris Buescher also top 10. If we go through some of the other results, Zane Smith and Noah Gragson top 15 for front row. Noah Gragson, he's had, until I think this race, he's had like the worst average finish of like any drive. He's had the worst average finish of all 36 full-time drivers, even below Cody Ware in these last 13 races. So Gragson needed this run because he has been awful these last 13 weeks. And yeah, like, that's a run that he definitely was going to need. And then, I mean, going through some of the other finishers, Ryan Blaney, and we'll talk about Kyle Busch again here. Ryan Blaney, he spun out, managed to barely hit anything, though, which was great for him, but not great for him points-wise, because that does kind of hurt him a little bit in terms of the playoff points, but he ended up still coming back to finish 18th, which should probably help him. But he did a great job managing to not really damage the car that much. But yeah, Kyle Busch, though, well, the reason I'm bringing him up here is because then Kyle Busch just... He washed up in the middle of 4, and then while Austin Dillon did get into the rear of Blaney, Kyle Busch caused that. I mean, he just got really loose there. Like, I know Kyle Busch still finished 8th, but, like, Kyle, what are you doing, man? Like, feels like you've been caught up in something every week. I mean, I know you got back up to 8th, but, like, you've been involved in something, like, almost every week. Like, come on. But yeah. And then Hendrick Motorsports. what happened here? Like, what happened here? Like, this is something we don't see out of Hendrick Motorsports. Like, 17th, 19th, 21st, 31st, like, what happened to Hendrick Motorsports? Like, what kind of run is that? Like, I just don't understand. I mean, like, that's awful for them. That's not going to help their playoff chances. Like, I could see like, one of them is probably going to be out after this round, which probably will be Alex Bowman if things keep going the way they are, because Hendrick is not good at Gateway, and I mean, how are they at how are they going to do at Richmond? Not Richmond, Bristol. Like, what happened here? Like Byron dominated in the spring, and he finishes way in the back. Like, what's happening with Hendrick? I don't know at this point. All right, moving on. Moving on now. So we mentioned, Joey Logano. He also did not have a good run. Which Logano, I mean, and Logano, I know Penske's really good at Gateway, but again, Joey, you can't run like this week, because Joey Logano is currently, I think, below the cut line. All right. And then, I mean, going through some of the other results, as I said, we go through some of the other results. Christopher Bell, he didn't have a good run. I mean, Alex Bowman, same can be said for him. Like, he was having a ton of issues on pit road and just in general. So this was a terrible race for Alex Bowman. And then a really scary moment as well for Derek Kraus in the 44 car, because that got really scary there when car was having issues. I think there was some sort of engine issue, then the car just caught on fire really badly, and that could have been really bad. I'm just glad that Derek is okay after that. But really interesting stat I thought, very interesting, is that Derek Kraus, competing in the 75th ever Southern 500, the 75th Southern 500, raced against a man who competed in the first Southern 500, Marshall McGriff, which, that's amazing. Like, they both raced against each other at Tucson in the ARCA West Series in 2018. Like, that's just an insane stat when you think about it. A guy who ran in the first Southern 500 raced against a guy who ran in the 75th. Like, that is absolutely insane. I just wanted to highlight that. That is absolutely insane. That we've seen something like that happen. And I mean, glad that the 66 car, Timmy Hill, finished. They were only 3 laps off the pace. No, actually more than that. Yeah, my mistake there. But Timmy Hill, I mean, Carl Long, they were able to finish. So I'm really happy for them as well, because they've started to finish a lot more races, which is great for them. But yeah, Cody Ware, I know, also had an incident with Ryan Preece, where I think it was something along the lines where Ware came up. It came up, I think, into Preece, and Preece didn't really have a lot of time to react. Something along those lines. All right. But yeah, I think that there still was a lot going on. I mean, oh yeah, and I'll go back to Hocevar again. Hocevar, there's a video of him with a famous YouTube streamer IShowSpeed at Daytona, and that's insane that that IShowSpeed was able to collaborate with Carson Hocevar. Like, I was not expecting that. I don't really watch Speed, but that's still very interesting to see how that went down at Daytona. All right. So I think now would be a good time. We'll actually jump to the truck series because we're still talking about Darlington here. So the race ended up going to Corey Heim, which, oh, you know what? Actually, let's go back to Cup because we forgot to talk about the playoffs, about the playoff points. So in terms of playoff points right now, I mean, Briscoe is locked in to the next round. Um, right now, Joey Logano is 3 points below the cut line. Shane Van Gisbergen is the last person in right now. Austin Dillon, he's right now about 8 points below the cut line. Alex Bowman and Josh Berry, though, are both 19 points below the cut line. So they got a lot of work to do if they want to stay in this playoff hunt here. But yeah, really bad start though for Alex Bowman though, because he's gonna have to get it together. If he wants to bring his game back. All right. So that's pretty much what's going on there. Now I think we can talk about the truck. So Corey Heim, and we'll talk about the truck playoffs as well. So Corey Heim, he ended up taking home the victory. In the truck race, we had a lot of tire issues, which was a result of, these guys getting into the wall. Which the steel bodies, they're more unstable, put it that way. And they break a lot easier, and because of that, it results in tires going down and more easily, which we did see. And because tires were going down, cars were having to come down pit road, some even had to go to the garage, there was a lot going on. So, in terms of that, though, we'll go through the results here again, but Corey Heim ended up winning. Daniel Hemrick came home in second. I loved that paint scheme as well, the Gray Ghost car. The Gray Ghost car, that was incredible. That's an incredible. All four of the McAnally trucks ran really great throwbacks. Connor Mosack ran a Kenny Wallace throwback. Jack Wood in the 91 truck had a throwback to Dick Trickle, and Tyler Ankrum had a throwback to someone else. I don't quite remember who it was, but I remember his throwback was really great to see as well. It was Tommy Ellis's 1986 scheme. That's correct. So that was really cool to see as well. And then going through the results again, Grant Enfinger, he finished in third. Ty Majeski fourth. Trevor Bayne, in his first race in quite a while, he finished in fifth in the Victory Junction sponsored truck. Tanner Gray also was sixth. Tyler Ankrum said Timmy Hill finished in eighth. You gotta give him so much credit. Timmy, he's got only 2 full-time employees. 2. Compared to a lot of these other truck teams that have much more than that. Timmy Hill, with only 2 full-time employees, finished in 8th. With what we know about what Timmy's been able to accomplish, that is incredible. And it just shows how much of a driver's track Darlington really is. When you look at guys like Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek, who got 3rd, 4th, Allmendinger in 5th earlier, that just shows you how much of a driver's track Darlington really is. And it showed here with Timmy. Timmy knows how to save his tires and save his equipment, and he did that. He led practice as well. So, Timmy knows his stuff. And that's just and I'm just really happy for him to have such a great run. And then Corey Day, I think this is his last truck race of the year. He finished in 9th. And then Jake Garcia, he got a top 10. And then Stephen Parsons also had a great run. He finished in 15th in the 20 truck for Young's Motorsports. Great run. A really great run for him. And then, there was also a penalty on pit road for Corey LaJoy. I think what happened was he got out of line This is at the end. I think he got out of line at uh, at the end on that last restart, which you can't do that. I know he tried arguing it and posted on social media saying how bad it was, and he ended up serving the penalty, but could probably would have finished in the top 10 had he not gotten out of line on the restart there. And then continuing here, some other disappointing results. Well, like Tony Bridger, she's got to get it together because she finished 4 laps down on pace, I'm pretty sure. Like, she's got to get it together. And then you have other guys here that unfortunately fell out, like Mason Maggio. He fell. Oh, by the way, I just want to send out some thoughts to Frankie Muniz, um, who unfortunately will not be competing in the Truck Series for a few weeks. Frankie, a few days ago, before the 2 or 3 days before the truck race, he fell off of a ladder at home, and I think he broke his wrist. But so that's why he was not in the 33 truck. But yeah, he suffered a distal radius fracture after following while changing ring camera batteries, which, I mean, I'm sending out some thoughts and prayers to you, Frankie. I hope you recover to the best of your ability, and please get well soon. I hope we'll see you back on track again soon, Frankie, because because you hate to see anyone get hurt like that. So so Mason Maggio, though, I mean, he ended up moving from the 22 truck to the 33. He had a really awesome throwback, though, like a throwback to Michael Waltrip's Xfinity car from, I want to say, 2004. I want to say 2004. Like, I thought that was really cool to see be run on the track. Then going along here, we then take a look at guys like Caleb Costner in the 74 truck, who, unfortunately for him, his team, when they think they blew a tire, they actually had to go to the garage because they didn't even have any tires. Like, I'm not sure why they didn't bring any tires, but he had to go to the garage and wait for a team to bring spares over, which they did, but he came back out, but still, like, they were still having a lot of mechanical issues with that truck. And then, I mean, last thing I'll probably talk about is Chandler Smith. While Chandler Smith did receive the fastest lap of the race, he did not finish the race. And because he made contact with the wall, he had made contact with the wall coming off of, I think, either turn 2, I think, or turn 1. And it actually ended up ruining his race for the rest of the day. And he ended up going to the garage, and then he ended up complaining about the bodies of these things, saying that he'd rather be racing in the composite bodies, which I don't know how I feel. That honestly just feels like, to me, that just feels like trying to cover up excuses, making up excuses right there, because I mean, that's regardless of body, you still shouldn't be getting into the wall, no matter what. Like, I don't know what point Chandler was really trying to make there, but you are not supposed to get into the wall, right? Regardless. So, like, that, to me, that just felt like excuses. So, truck race was kind of a little lackluster, but I mean, I will admit the Southern 500 probably was the best race of the weekend at Darlington. So I think now would be a good time to move on to the Xfinity race at Portland, the last one for now. It was actually mentioned that in a new article with co-owner of BRK Racing, which is being fielded in a partnership with SS Greenlight Racing, Beth Nighthead, I think her name is. that the reason the track was dropped because the track is in need of dire upgrades, such as a lack of internet and service there and other things. Like from what people have said, the track, from what I've seen, some people have said that the track is like it's in the 1980s there, which that's not good if that's the main issue there for why that race had to go, because you got to upgrade your tracks. Like, I mean, I don't know who owns Portland, but whoever does really has to upgrade their tracks if they want NASCAR back. But yeah, just something to kind of throw in there that there is that's actually why the track got dropped. So I think the biggest thing to really talk about though is the chicane. But before we talk about Connor Zilisch winning, the chicane on right after the start finish line, because it was too easy to cut it. And I mean, I know that there's the rule that you have to go through certain things if you cut it, but yet people cut it at high speed and gained position from doing that, which, I mean, NASCAR, like, you got to look into that. Like, if we're gonna go back to Portland, if we're gonna go back to Portland in the future, you got to fix that. Like, that's something you're gonna have to fix. You're gonna have to probably say you have to stop no matter what if you're going through that chicane. Like, that's really all I'm really gonna say about the chicane there, but just something that I wanted to mention. All right, so I got that part out of the way. So we'll talk about how the race was a little lackluster, I'll admit, which is sad because I really like Portland. Like I mentioned in almost every episode how great of a track Portland is, and I even want Portland in the future to have a Cup Series date. But obviously, the track is going to need those dire upgrades that NASCAR believes it needs. So Connor Zilisch ended up winning. This is actually his 6th win out of the last 7, which, again, this kid is incredible. Like anyone who said he's being rushed is wrong at this point. Like, I mean, maybe at the beginning of the year you could have said that, but now you absolutely cannot say he's being rushed because he's got like 8 wins, I think, on the 7 wins on the year, I think. So, like, the kid is not being rushed at all. He absolutely deserves to be in Cup. So then, but it's still some interesting runs. William Sawalich finished in 2nd, and I mean, as I said, his last few races, ever since like maybe July, Sawalich has really turned things around, which I'm really happy for him because he's needed a big turnaround. And then you had guys like Nick Sanchez, who finished in 3rd, Christian Eckes 4th, Austin Hill 5th. There was something after the race, apparently, where he tried to wreck the 48. I don't know if there's any confirmation on that. And then, on that last restart, he then was going to try to spin the 16, which that would have gotten him suspended again had he done that. And then we'll go through some more results here. Three Jordan Anderson Motorsport cars, all 3 of them finished in the top 10. Incredible day for them. Jeb Burton 7th, Austin Green 8th, Blaine Perkins 9th. Great day for all 3 of those cars. Absolutely great day. Then you had other guys with great runs like Brennan Poole in 13th, Jeremy Clement 17th, Joey Hand, I mean, in 19th, Alon Day 20th. Like, some interesting runs. Day had an issue early, I think, but he was still able to come back and make it into the top 20. Then you go through some of the other results here. But yeah, like Sammy Smith, I mean, he got spun out, I think, on the last restart. Unfortunately for him, he fell back to 22nd. And then, I mean, there were some guys that I wish had better days, like Takuma Koga in the 35. Wish he had a better run. I love Takuma. Wish he was able to have a better run. And And then there were some guys that, were having such great runs and then just went away. Like Jack Perkins, he was running in third. Third. And just like at Chicago, it just didn't end the way he wanted it to. Like, I feel so bad for the guy. I hope we see him again. I don't know who's running the Roval, but maybe you could put him again for the Roval if he's available. Give him a third chance. Because he was running in third when he wrecked with like 5 to go. And then you had other guys like and then you had other guys that fell out like Will Brown. I feel bad for him too because he hasn't finished any of his races in NASCAR yet. I hope I hope he keeps trying. It upsets me because I like Will Brown as well. Like seeing all these guys come over from Australia and supercars in New Zealand, I really want to see these guys succeed, but unfortunately something seems to go wrong for a lot of these guys when they're running great, so it's upsetting. All right. And then I think now would be a good time though to maybe move on to the ARCA side of things. Actually, it might be good to talk about the ARCA West race at Portland first, just because we're still talking about Portland. Very interesting ending there between William Sawalich and Thomas Annunziata. Annunziata kept running Sawalich off the track towards the end. And then right after that, Sawalich then moves Annunziata pretty hard off the track in the final turn, which some people were a bit upset about that. I wasn't really that upset just because I mean, it was kind of coming for him because he had moved him off the track multiple times, so I'm not really that upset about it. And then going along here again, you have guys like I was really happy to see Greg Biffle running again. He got fourth. Alon Day got third. Dale Quarterly seventh. Like Caleb Schrader eighth. Like David Magris 11th. Like seeing a lot of these guys in West have great runs is really nice. Christian Eckes, I was surprised that he was having some trouble with the engine. He was having some engine trouble. He still finished 2 laps down, I think. And then Fernando Navarrete, I feel really bad for him because this was his first start. He came all the way over from Spain to run this race, and unfortunately he kept having mechanical issues after mechanical issues with the 3 car, so I felt really bad for him. And then there were some issues as well for the 51 of Blake Lothian and the 27 of Bobby Hills Jr. in his first race since last year. So now I think we'll talk about the ARCA race at DuQuoin, which still don't understand why the State Fair wants to run that race during the Southern 500. Ended up being won by Butterbean. Brendan Queen ended up winning, so he ended up taking home the victory. I mean, if you look at the results here, a lot of interesting results. Like Lawless Allen, he got second. Kelly Kofsky third. Tim Monroe fifth. Isabella Robusto finished in the 4th position. And then you have other guys, they finished like LeVar Scott. LeVar Scott keeps coming so close to winning these races, and then unfortunately he got Butterbean got around him, and then on one of the last restarts, he and Tim Monroe actually, I think, both spun out. They both continued, but that was a shame. The 31 of Chase Howard, what a run for him. Like, dirt guy out of Mississippi, he had such a great run. I'm really happy for him. Like, and that 31 team, Rise Motorsports, they needed a run like that. They needed this run. So I'm really happy for the Rise Motorsports team because Chase Howard ran a really great race out there. And then Tony Cosentino, he got 8th on the lead lap as well for Fast Track. Great run for Tony. Michael Maples finally gets his first top 10 finish. First top 10 finish for Michael Maples. Really proud of him for that. And then Max Reeves, he was kind of struggling a bit out there. Like, think he had a tire go down the second time, but he spun, I think, on his own while leading the first time. And, like, he was having a little trouble out there. So then, also, Alex, and I'll talk about this incident in a little bit. Club got an 11th, and Pompa 12th, Brayton Lasser 13th, Jason Kitzmiller 14th. Brent Cruz, unfortunately, he was not able to go back-to-back with the dirt races, and he was also unable to win this race for the second year in a row. Unfortunately, while running in second with like only a few laps to go, he was still pretty far behind Butterbean, but he runs into the back of Alex Club, and unfortunately, both cars go around, and Brent Cruz ends up getting into the inside wall hard, takes him out of the race. But yeah, I'm not sure really how to explain this, but like I feel like it kind of was on Cruz a little bit, just because he kind of was going in hard on him, like, and just didn't really wad out of the way or something. Like, feels like he kind of just pile drove into him there. I know Club could have gone up high, but just seems like it just felt like a racing incident to me, in all honesty. After seeing the replay, really tough break for Jade Avedissian in her ARCA debut, because she was having a great run. I know she runs dirt a lot. She was having a great run. I feel really bad for her because she crashed out later in the late in the race as well. Ryan Vargas, I feel really bad for him too, because for a while he's really wanted to run one of these dirt races in ARCA, and unfortunately for him, he ended up having, I think, an engine issue or something along those lines. So I feel pretty bad for him as well, because Ryan is an awesome dude. I hope we'll see him again in ARCA this year, maybe in one of the last few races. I think now would also be a good... Oh yeah, and then I guess we could talk about the Whelen Modified Tour and the NASCAR Canada Series. Ron Silk gets his 3rd win of the year. He is not running full-time, though, or competing for the championship, but he did end up getting his 3rd win of the year at Owego this week. Beat out guys like Craig Lutz, Patrick Emmerling, Austin Beers, Matt Hirschman. That rounded out the top 5. And it ended up being a decent showing there amongst the field. But now also in the Canada Series, you had the win at Mosport. This was the second trip there for the tour for the Canada Series. It ended up going to Marc-Antoine Camarade. He sweeps both races at Mosport in what was a pretty fun race. It was a pretty fun race as well. I feel bad for Gary Kloot though, because he came really close to potentially winning. Like, he's been looking for that win. I feel really bad because he's been so close many times to getting it, and he just can't get it. So, like, I feel pretty bad as a result. And then, as I said, I think now would be a good time to actually jump into the IndyCar portion of the show, because that's going to be a big portion of this show, actually. So, IndyCar at Nashville. The win ended up actually going to Josef Newgarden. Finally a turnaround that Josef Newgarden needed this year, because it has been a season from hell for Josef Newgarden. He's had so many crashes, mechanical issues, penalties. Like, it's been an awful year for Newgarden. Like, and he finally was able to pick up a win. He's had only 3 top 5s this entire year, and he ended up finishing 12th in the standings as well. Really a bad year for Penske in IndyCar, but thankfully they were able to top it off on a high note with Newgarden winning at Nashville Superspeedway. And I just really hope that we keep Nashville on the schedule, because this Nashville Superspeedway on the schedule, because the racing was really great as well. I mean, it was some great racing. And again, Alex Palou, who finished in second, he almost didn't even finish the race. He still finished in second and became a four-time IndyCar champion, tying the likes of guys like I think Dario Franchitti, I believe, and I think Sebastian Bourdais, I think as well. I could be wrong on that, but Alex Palou, he's going to be going down in the history books for sure. I mean, you got guys like, but yeah, Palou is tied with Mario Andretti, Bourdais, and Franchitti for 4 championships. Palou, in all honesty, could have a shot at passing AJ Foyt for most championships of all time in the series because AJ Foyt, he's got 7, Scott Dixon 6. Like, could Alex Palou perhaps do it? Like, I mean, and I know there's people who say he should go to Formula One, but like, why would he throw that away? I mean, why would he throw winning so much in IndyCar to go run there? Like, Palou is like I'd rather be winning races than running 10th every week in Formula One. So like, I feel Palou should just stay where he is because he could easily become the greatest of all time in IndyCar, which he might have a legit shot at that. And then moving on here through the results, I mean Scott McLaughlin, he finished in 3rd. Great finish for Kiffin Simpson as well in 4th. Connor Daly. I hope this is not his last race with the Juncos Hollinger team. He finished top 5 again on one of these ovals in 5th. Like, Connor Daly, like, he's got to be one of the most underrated drivers on the IndyCar circuit. Like I mean, he finished 8th at the Indy 500, but he came really close to winning that race as well. Finished 6th Gateway and 7th at Iowa. Like, Daly, like, he's got to be one of the most underrated drivers in IndyCar. And then despite wrecking in, I think he wrecked in practice. I could be wrong. Felix Rosenqvist still finished in 7th. He had a good finish. Callum Ilott for Prema. Hopefully not the last race for Prema Racing, because there have been rumors that they may not continue or may merge with another team. Callum Ilott had a great run in the 90 car. And then, I mean, going through results, Alexander Rossi finished 10th. He actually led for a bit as well. And then we'll talk about some more of the silly season stuff in IndyCar after this. But there were some guys that also wrecked out, like Christian Rasmussen. Last week's winner, he wins last week, but he wrecks on lap 1. So that sucks for him. And then David Malukas, we'll talk about him again in a little bit. He was having a great run, and then unfortunately there was a bad block from Lewis Foster, who was like a lap down or two, and then he went really hard into the wall. Had to be transported to a local hospital for further evaluation, but thank God he's okay. But in these Indy cars, you can't be making blocks like that. You really cannot be blocking on track the way that Foster was. And same for Robert Schwartzman, who unfortunately actually lost Rookie of the Year to Foster because he made a late aggressive block at the end, which IndyCar doesn't allow, and as a result, he ended up being penalized, and he ended up being penalized for that. So then, as I said, like, Christian Lundgaard also had a mechanical issue. Pato O'Ward, when he was leading the race, he wrecked hard into the wall. He had a tire go down and won the wall. So that was really sad to see as well, because Pato O'Ward, most popular driver in IndyCar, I mean, in the finale, like, blows a tire, goes hard into the wall. And we'll continue the IndyCar portion of the show here, because there's still some more scheduled rumors going around. There's again more talk about Toledo, not Toledo, Toronto, excuse me. The Toronto race is expected to be moved to some airport near, I think, Markham. Near some airport near Markham, the race is expected to be moved to. So I am curious what's going to come out of that. I mean, I don't know what the layout would be, but it would be really fun to see. And they're doing this because they are likely doing this because of the World Cup that's going to be held at the exhibition place circuit that they've ran for a really long time in IndyCar. So they're going to be doing that there. And airport racing, we haven't seen that in a long time for IndyCar, so that's going to be really fun, I think. Like we had this in like last time we've done that was Edmonton, I think. May have been 2013. That airport is now demolished. They made way for more housing. But before that, you also had the Grand Prix of Cleveland on the Lakefront Airport, which that was so much fun. I'd love to see that return. I'd love to see that race return in the future as well because those were some fun races as well. And then moving on, there's also more talk that Phoenix is going to potentially take the. There's more talk that Phoenix is potentially going to take one of Iowa's dates. Still other talk that Mexico City is coming. And then there's also more talk that potentially. There is also more talk that potentially there's going to be a street race in Washington D.C. this for 2026, but I don't know how that's going to work out. They may have to wait until 2027, but I'm not 100% sure. And then it was a really big day in the silly season side of things for IndyCar because it was announced this morning that Will Power will not be returning to Penske after such an incredible he had such an incredible tenure with Penske. So and Power, I mean, he was their best driver this year. So I just don't really understand why they're doing this. I mean, Power, I know he's got like three more, maybe, I think he said he's got about 2 to 3 more years left in him racing wise. This is kind of upsetting because Power's been with Penske in IndyCar since 2009. This has been one of the biggest pairings, one of the biggest and most strongest pairings we've had in IndyCar all this time. It's still pretty upsetting to see Power's tenure with Penske come to an end because he's always been a favorite of many. But the rumors that he's going to be going to Andretti and to Andretti potentially replacing Colton Herta, who is rumored to be going to Prema in Formula 2, which I don't know if I'm going to believe that, but we'll see if that actually ends up happening. But additionally, in terms of all the IndyCar rumors, it is also expected though that David Malukas is going to be taking over the 12 car. I don't know if Verizon's going to be staying on. They probably will be, but the talk is that David Malukas is going to be taking over the 12 car. And then also announced today is that Rinus VeeKay, who had a really great year for Dale Coyne Racing, will not be returning to the number 18 car for Dale Coyne Racing, despite Dale Coyne wanting him back. It does appear, though, that this was a decision from Rinus VeeKay himself. So we'll see, but it's also expected that the 51 number is going to go back to 19, which was the longtime second Dale Coyne number. So we'll see what comes out of that. And then again on the IndyCar side of things, and when talking about Rinus, the talk is also that Rinus VeeKay might be going to the 4 at AJ Foyt Racing, and that car is also going to potentially get similar treatment that Malukas got in the 4. So I think that So like I think that because of that, we could really see something great out of Renus VK with how, especially with how with how guys especially with how Malukas had a lot of great runs in that four car this year. So like I think it's gonna be we could see something good out of that come out of that. And then moving on again, and in terms of the Dale Coyne seats, it's also expected that Jacob Abel, who finished last in points out of all 27 full-time drivers, is also expected to be out of the 51 car as well. So yeah, just something to also think about. I also don't really know exactly what's going to happen with Prema because I mean, there's also rumors that they might be merging with with Juncos Hollinger, and I'm not really sure what would happen with that. Like I don't know if Callum Ilott would potentially take a ride there. I don't which would if that were to happen, I guess Callum Ilott would maybe take a ride there, which would actually be a reunion for them because Ilott was driving for that team in 2022 and 2023. So I suppose you may have a reunion there, but that would probably also mean that Connor Daly would be out of a ride, which that'd be, as I said, that'd be really upsetting. I guess Stingray Rob would probably return as well, unless maybe they want to bring Schwartzman over, but there's also talk that maybe Schwartzman may want to go back to racing in Europe, but I'm not exactly sure. But that's also dependent on if what Prema wants to do or if they intend to stick around. And then in addition, Will Buxton was also talking about Renus's deal, how potentially there could be a seat that could open up another seat that can open up at Penske in 2027, which is leading people to think that potentially Josef Newgarden could potentially be retiring. Like there's a new rumor going around that that someone else unexpected to retire is going to announce a retirement. So could it be Newgarden potentially? That could it potentially be Newgarden retiring? Like who knows? And then the other talk is that at Dale Coyne is that Romain Grosjean is working on a return to IndyCar, and that it is expected that he will potentially be in one of the Dale Coyne cars, and that Dennis Hauger, the Indy NXT champion, will be in the other Dale Coyne racing car. So we'll have a rookie in the field there as well. So a lot of big talk. There's a lot of big talk going on with IndyCar silly season. But yeah, Prema itself is having a lot of financial trouble. So like I'm really curious to see if they're going to be able to stick around. Linus Lundqvist is also expected to be on the short list of drivers as well. So it would be really interesting to see if Linus Lundqvist could potentially get a ride out there. And I mean, there's also a lot of contracts between Penske, Ganassi, and Andretti that are all up next year. Like as I mentioned, Newgarden, Andretti, Marcus Ericsson's contract, I believe, runs through there. Someone else has a contract up through next year. It might be some, I don't remember who, but there's a lot that also, and then also Cal Collet, I think that's how you say his name, from Indy NXT is also coming up in silly season talk as well. So I'm curious if maybe he could also perhaps get a ride next year. So a lot of IndyCar silly season talk we just went through there, but yeah, I mean, just a lot going on the IndyCar side of things. So I think now would actually be a good time to potentially transition into previewing Gateway. Which, by the way, for Gateway this week, for Gateway this week, there's a lot Again, there's a lot that we got to talk about because they got Bill Murray. Yes, that Bill Murray. He's the Grand Marshal. He will be given the command to fire engines. So that's going to be really exciting to see there. So I really hope that. So I do really I think that'll be fun. And then there's someone else that I know is pretty popular that's doing a pre-race concert. So Gateway's going all in on this weekend, which is great. Which is great, I think. So we'll go through the entry list here. Now, this is only the third race of the year where there is not a unchartered or not a non-full-time car entered out of the 36 full-time entries. So there are only 36 cars in the field. Xfinity, though, got an interesting entry list to go through. So on the Xfinity entry list, there are 38 cars entered, although we did have two teams that did withdraw, however. Yeah, there were two teams that withdrew from the Xfinity race, which were the four, which were the 5 car, which is the fourth Alpha Prime Racing entry, which was going to be driven by Stephen Parsons, as well as the 74 of Dawson Cram, who would have driven for Mike Harmon Racing. So just wanted to point that out, that unfortunately those two teams did withdraw from the race, which means that that everyone else will make the field. So we'll talk about the entrants here. So amongst the notable entrants, we have Nick Lights in the 07. Daniel Hemrick returns to Colleague Racing in the number 11 car. That's going to be pretty interesting to see Hemrick back there after running full time for them in Cup last year. Then Corey Day in the 17. This is actually an additional race for Hendrick Motorsports' Xfinity team, and especially with the rumors that Corey Day is going to race for Hendrick full time in Xfinity. This would make sense. And then Eric Almirola adds an additional race, the 19. He was originally not scheduled to run this race, I believe. So Almirola in the 19. And then Jordan Anderson in the 32. Nice to see him driving. That's part of the Volpe Foods deal. Kyle Sieg is also back in the 28 after moving to the 53 last week. And then the 35 is currently TBA. That will be announced later. LeVar Scott makes his second Xfinity Series start in the 45 car, with ARCA off this week. Joey Gase is in the 53. He's driving the number 53 for his own team. And then Thomas Annunziata in the 70. Cole Raz in the 76 car. This is a second AM Racing entry. Really nice to see. Really nice to see Cole Raz making his Xfinity debut. So that should be pretty fun. And then we also got Matt Mills in the 91. This is his first Xfinity Series start since I want to say 2023. I might be wrong on that. His last Xfinity start might also actually be 2022. But nice to see Matt Mills make another Xfinity start. Okay, he actually did race in Xfinity in 2023. He ran for Joey Gase for the Emmerling Gase Motorsports team. So I'm curious how this is going to go. They're bringing the same tire that was used at. They are bringing the same tire that was used back at Iowa. Now I don't know how I feel about that, just because. I don't know how I feel about that, just because on the Indy. No, what am I saying? I don't know how I feel about that, just because the tires didn't wear for 50 laps in testing at Iowa. I don't know how it would work at Gateway, but they need to. But with Gateway, I just wish that they would run a tire that can wear a lot. Hopefully, maybe I'm proven wrong, and maybe it will work better at Gateway than Iowa. But we'll see what happens. I mean, Gateway hasn't really had a bad race with the next gen, I personally. So you never know what could happen here. And then also some other things of note. Xfinity is also bringing. This is also going to be the first race for Xfinity at Gateway since 2010 in the fall. But I imagine you all remember what happened in that summer race at Gateway. I bet Brad Keselowski remembers. Same with Carl Edwards. Imagine. So there definitely could be something that comes out of that. All right, definitely could be something that will get brought up. I mean, I meant to say that's going to be something that probably will get brought up, and then probably will be the last thing we'll talk about here for the show today. Will be some more stuff related to the lawsuit between 2311 and Front Row Motorsports and NASCAR. First, I'm going to start with the fact that NASCAR has decided that they are not going to attempt to sell any of the charters before the trial, which probably because if they did sell them, that would be irreparable harm, and then the judge would grant the injunction, and they would have their charters back. So I can easily see why. That would happen, but absolutely insane stuff came out of the hearing on Thursday. Like, there was some absolutely insane stuff. And I just want to thank Tom Luttermoser for putting this all together with his article. So, the hearing just was insane. And I mean, Judge Bell said that if either party feels certain they're going to win, they're wrong, which, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a big trial. And I mean, there were some things that came out, like how the 2311 co-owner Curtis Polk said that Cup racing is boring to watch. Steve O'Donnell actually was revealed to be standing up for the teams in some instances, where he said that this charter deal that was being proposed wasn't really helping the teams, and then Michael Jordan also had some certain words to say about the teams for deciding to sign the agreement and not side with them, and then also was really mad at Joe Gibbs Racing for signing it as well. And the most insane thing said was easily from Steve Laleta, which is 2311 team president. He said to Denny Hamlin, "I wish I knew what to do and what is the best investment path. Being in for the long haul and Jim dying is probably the answer." Jim France being Jim there, which you can't say that. Like, you absolutely cannot say that. Like seriously, like you absolutely cannot say you want someone to die. Like, you absolutely cannot say that. Like, Steve, like, honestly, if I'm Denny Hamlin, like, I'd actually fire him for that. Like, I seriously would honestly fire him now that that's out there, that he wants the CEO of NASCAR to die. And then Denny Hamlin also said that his despise for the France family runs deep, but whatever you do, please let's not sabotage your business over principle when it comes down to it. So, like, Denny Hamlin really is the foreman of this whole lawsuit. And then it was also mentioned that Steve Phelps said that let's give them the contract, pick a date, sign or lose their charters. So, like, it does appear though that Steve Phelps, though, on the other side, though, it does feel like Steve Phelps, though, is a guy who's more willing to negotiate, though. So, like, I don't know. I mean, like, it feels like Steve O'Donnell and Steve Phelps actually do want to help the teams. I know I just referred to Steve Phelps talking about something that would hurt the teams. But, like, in general, though, from what I've heard regarding Steve Phelps, besides that, he still is someone that seemingly wanted to help the teams, like Steve O'Donnell seemingly does. It seems like the main issue is the Frances, being Jim France. And then it also came out that NASCAR wanted to attempt to prevent the teams from creating another series, like by locking down and buying Speedway Motorsports from Marcus Smith, which that wouldn't have helped. That would have made them even more of a monopoly if they did that. But yeah, the judge was also saying that I can do something that I could do that I could rule on many different things here. Like without the and it there's not going to be a settlement. It seems like they're going all in, and apparently there was actually a settlement offered, but 2311 laughed at it. So we'll see what happens with that. There was also something else that came out today from one of the owners, from another one of the owners, of Spire Motorsports, Dan Tauris. So Dan Tauris stated, what was released in that case is very inconsistent with what they, NASCAR, say privately, and so I need to understand, who am I dealing with? Is it the people we meet with privately, or is what you say when we're not around? Which, that is definitely big for him to be saying, and it just really is. It's just gonna. This whole trial is just gonna be absolutely insane. Like, and apparently there's been like a the whole, this is all just gonna be, like, this whole thing is just gonna be, this is all just gonna be absolutely insane. So I still am very curious as to how this lawsuit's going to go. We are going to be covering it for sure here on this channel. And I think that's actually going to be it for today. So I know I'm here alone, but again, thank you guys, though, for joining me. And again, we'll be back next week for the 16th episode. We'll wrap up Gateway and then preview what's to come at Bristol for the night race. So I'm Adam Relkin, your host of 500 Miles, and I will see you guys next time.